one of the things. If you haven't turned in, I want you to keep the brain thing for yourself. If you haven't turned in the experimental research assignment, anybody remember what that one was? It was online, but a lot of people hand wrote it. Turn that in before you leave today if you have it. If you don't, try to turn it online. What you had to do was watch 2 videos and then respond to some questions and some prompts. Okay. My TA is going to compile those and see how well people did on those and how well people did on the tests. So I forgot to collect those at the end of class on Tuesday, whatever. Okay. Okay, so how do I know you're learning? How do I know you learned something? Well, feedback is one way of learning. How do I know you're learning? The quietness is awesome. Okay, have you ever played with the yo-yo before? All right, would you mind being a guinea pig? Yeah, you can. Okay. You don't have to use it good. Okay. Okay, so this. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to stand over here so I can hear this, so that you can hear the recording. Okay, so just leave it there. I want to show you how to learn how to use a yo-yo. Now, I've already used one before, but I'm going to show you some tricks to learn how to use a yo-yo. Okay? So the first thing you have to do, what's the hardest part about playing with the yo-yo? Getting it to come back up. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach him to get it to come back up first, before it's spinning or before anything else. So the way to get it back up is you pop your hand and catch it. So pop your wrist. Okay, good. So pop it harder. There you go, good. Just let it go down. So you're going to let it go down, and then so you just flick your wrist and catch it. Good. Good. Okay, so let it unspin there for a second. Okay, so why train this behavior first? Good. Why train this behavior first? Come on, people. This is the hardest part. Train the hardest part first. I'll make someone do a circle sit up here in a minute if you guys don't start talking. Okay. Very complicated. Okay, so far so good? Okay, so now what you want to do is take it, and I want you to put your finger and hold the string against the side like this. Yeah. And then the other side. And then you're going to wind it up. Okay, so making it come back up is one trick. The second part that you have to learn is, come on, more people. What's the other part? It's called the yo-yo for a reason. What do you have to do first? Come on, people. I know you're here. Let's see. So if he just holds it like this as a yo-yo, what do you have to do? You have to throw it down. And when it gets down to the bottom, what do you have to do? Pop it back up and catch it. Can you handle it? Okay, so wait before you, we're going to keep that throw it down. So when you string, you want the string to come off the gun. Okay, we're going to throw it down this way. Okay? You're going to throw it down this way. When you throw it down, when it gets to the bottom, turn your hand over and then pop it back up. Go for it. Nice. One more time. Okay, this one doesn't come back up unless I do a body on it. So that one. Okay. So once good, you got to round back up. You don't have to go so fast. You make sure the string is going around it the right way. Just go around the right way. Let's turn it around. Look at that. Up, back up. Oh, so close. Okay, so what's happening is all he needs to do is work on his timing. So hold the string on one side, and then on the opposite side of the string hand, there you go. It's exciting. It's exciting. Okay. Try it one more time. Remember, so the string goes over the top of the yo-yo. Yeah, get both 50. There you go, perfect. You have it right there. That's good. Go for it. Hop back up. Oh, that was pretty cool. I could do that. Go. Okay, so can I get him that to take home over the weekend and try? No. Okay, so did he do it? Pretty quickly. Now he's played with one before, but he's apprehensive. But if you teach this part first, how do we know he can yo-yo now a little bit? He did it. He went straight down and it came back up. So how do I know he's learning? The only way to know you're learning is to measure his behavior. I asked him initially, can you play with the yo-yo? And he said, sorta, kinda. I did once. But do I know if he can do it? Well, he could before, probably. When's the last time you actually played with the yo-yo? A long time ago. Usually 7, 8 years old, kids find these cool. Okay, sometime early middle school or early elementary school, early middle school kids, then they realize that it's not cool. Anyway, but in order to know if you are learning, I have to measure behavior. Whenever you measure behavior, that is how you measure learning. So I'm going to write this little word up here. Not word, it's a Greek symbol. What's a triangle mean in math? Yeah, what does delta mean? Yeah. So I'm going to write this little mathematical formula. A change in behavior, delta behavior. The only way to measure learning is to measure a change in behavior. If I want to say I am learning, you have to measure a change in behavior. Have to. Garrett, the only way to know that someone's learning is to measure a change in behavior. Why do I give you a test? To measure behavior. It's not the greatest behavior that I'm measuring. I'm only measuring what dot you're filling in. That's it. Okay, so in order for me to measure anything, what do I have to do? The first thing you have to do is define your behavior. So how could I get you to respond more to questions? We have the extroverts. The other extrovert's not here today, so he's not shouting out answers. We have people who are extroverted. And plus you're in 2 of my classes, so you feel comfortable with me. But the extroverts will always answer questions. The introverts do not answer questions. They say them inside their head. Or they say, I don't know. How come people don't shout out, I don't know? I don't know. Extroverts can't handle quiet. like me. All right. See? It's terrible. All right, so can we get a cat to walk on a leash? Hold on. What do we have to do to know if this cat's learning? So what do we define the behavior? First thing we have to do is measure behavior. How do you define walking on a leash? It's kind of obvious. My little fluffy dog walk on a leash. Not very well, but she does. She has her own opinion about where she should go. She likes to zigzag a lot when she's walking. Okay? So why did I put meters here? But how do I know she's actually walking on the leash? Brace yourself. It's really science. She's actually going for a walk on the leash. Is she, if I'm just dragging her along, is she going for a walk on the leash? No, because she is not walking. This is really obnoxious because the more we need, the more we use this principle, the less fun we have in psychology. The guy's like going, come on, monkey. Passive resistance. That's what it looks like. So we can say what we think the cat's thinking. We can say what the ideas that we have about the stupid cat. However, is the cat walking on a leash? No. How do you know? It's not walking, and we can't measure any distance because it's not performing the behavior that we want. Whenever you're trying to train anybody to do anything, especially if you like coaching, if you do anything, the number one thing you have to do is define behavior. The reason I give a harder test in the first test is because a lot of students don't know what to expect in a psychology class. So I give a hard test on the first test. So what does it make you expect? Maybe I need to study a little more. And what's interesting is that you're not punished for doing bad on the first test. It doesn't affect your overall grade in the class. But a lot of people take it personally, probably why only half the class is here. But why would you take it personally? It turns out that people who studied really hard got at least a B or an A on this, which is good. And so it does pay off to study. It doesn't pay off to when you think you're going to do even better than you did and you realize, oh, this is hard. Okay. But, so we go back. If I define my behavior walking X meters with a leash, is this cat learning to walk on a leash? Yes or no? Everybody? No, thank you. Okay, so in order for the cat to walk on a leash, what do we have to do first? This is a statement made by Sir Francis Bacon. Everybody likes bacon. Okay? Sir Francis Bacon said, nature to be commanded must be obeyed. In order for you to train someone, in order for you to teach somebody, in order for you to learn anything, you have to learn it in a way that you can learn it. Not every single person learns the same way. So this idea called nature to be commanded must be obeyed, nature to be commanded must be obeyed means in order for you to train somebody, you have to know them first. In order to train somebody, you have to know them first. In order to train a cat to walk on a leash, you have to understand the nature of cats. Do cats walk on leashes typically? No. Has anybody ever seen a cat walk on a leash? Yes. I've had multiple students have cats that walk on leashes. And they said, yes, my cat walks on a leash. And sometimes our neighbors have a cat that enjoys walking on a leash. Or she notices that whenever the dog goes out, the dog gets a leash, the cat looks over and goes, where's my leash? I want to go out. And so the cat would stand there by the leashes waiting to go outside. Now, is that every cat? No, it turns out that some cats are good at walking on leashes and some cats aren't. You need to know this first before you try to walk your cat on a leash. Some of you will try and get stitches. Cats are vile, nasty little beasts. They're vicious. The same thing that's lurking in your house eating mice and cats and the little ends off your curtain rods is the same thing that attacks people on mountain bikes. Same cat. Okay, I want to show you another clip here. It's back on? Okay, it's back on. What just happened? Okay. I clipped the back of the cat's neck, and what does the cat do? The cat's like, I'm going to kill them. How come it can't move? Turns out, 2/3 of cats, if you pinch the back of their neck, they go like this. What happens to that 1/3 of the cat that you pinch the back of its neck? It shreds you, turns around and just lights you up. So if you want a cat that's fun to play with, you do this called the kitty twister test. You grab the back of the neck when they're kittens and pick them up. If the cat flails around, it's a fun, playful cat. If the cat goes, it's a boring cat. Cats that are bred in captivity are more likely to be crazy. Cats that are bred in the wild are more likely to go. Why? Why have this instinct in the cats to go? How do mom cats carry the baby cats around? By the neck. If the mom cat has to run away and has to grab a kid to save, is it going to take the one that's doing this? You're going to take the one that's going like this. So in the wild, the cats that survive are the ones that go, whoop. The ones that are flailing around like morons, mom's like, you're on your own, kid. Who gets eaten first? The spazzy cats get eaten first. So if you're being attacked by a mountain lion, grab it by the back of the neck. Couldn't hurt. Everybody know how a mountain lion gets you? They wait till you turn around. They wait till you turn around. They jump. They put the one paw on your head, on your face, and their two back feet on your lower back, and go. You won't even know it hit you. They'll take down a full-size deer that way. Break the neck of a deer. We don't stand a chance. One of my friends who mountain bikes a lot by himself in Anza Borrego has two little red headlights on the back of his helmet. Because the mountain lion thinks you're still looking at it. They don't attack if you're looking at it. Mike Wangler is a wonderful geology professor we had. He was hiking in Lagunas, and mountain lion. He said, I walked backwards for 3 miles till I got to my car. And it just followed him. What is it waiting for him to do? Turn and run. Because as soon as he turned and run, does that trigger the instinct of the cat to attack? So nature to be commanded must be obeyed. Kim Dudzik she's our academic senate president. She's also a biology professor. It was really funny because she was snorkeling, videotaping these, videotaping these critters living on the reef, and she's watching all these things, and she slowly floats up to the surface, and she, got the camera like this, She looks up, and there's a hammerhead shark. The water's warmer. Anyway, if she started thrashing and flailing around, what would the shark do? Attack. I'm food. So what she said in her head, I'm not food. I'm not food. I am just floating here. Well, the sharks swim by something that isn't food. But if something's thrashing around, the shark goes, food. Nature to be commanded must be obeyed. There's no thinking. It's just you react the way things should react. You react to the way things should be. So, do you need to understand the animal, the organism, the person before you train them? This is the hardest part about trying to study learning. Everybody in here has a different self, has a different past. Everybody in here has a different, brace yourself, this is complicated. Everybody has a different learning history. I think we talked about this already once, but it'll rear its ugly head. Everybody has a little wheelie suitcase. What's in that wheelie suitcase? Your past. Everything that you have ever had, done, did, seen, experienced is in this little wheelie suitcase. It's called your learning history. Vocabulary word. Hold on. Can't write and talk. It's called latent inhibition. Latent inhibition. This is a very important word. You'll see this a lot. As we go on the semester, you'll learn about this latent inhibition. Latent, I'm going to write this in a different color, means unconscious. Unaware. Inhibition means walking. So when you talk about something called latent inhibition, I have my good friend Tom is the worst person to ever get in a relationship. If you meet some older guy named Tom on Tinder, you're creepy. Quit it now. But otherwise, but he goes on these dates and he loves going on dates and he meets these wonderful people and he met some really great people, including our friend Lisa, and they were great. And then he bails on them because he can't handle relationships. Does he have some baggage? Yes. His baggage is the fact that his parents were in an abusive relationship most of his childhood. That learning history makes him afraid to get into relationships. He is 47 years old now, and he's been married once and got a divorce, even though nothing was going wrong. He wanted to have a family, she didn't, he started panicking, and his learning history snuck up. So it's unconscious anxiety about relationships. What is it doing to his current relationships? Blocking them. So we talk about this latent inhibition. Does the cat have some latent inhibition? What's preventing the cat from walking on the leash? Where was the leash attached on both of those videos? The collar on the back of its neck. And if the leash is attached on the collar on the back of its neck, if the cat has this tonic-immobility response, a deactivating response, can it ever walk on the leash? Where should you attach the leash to a cat that goes, well, not down here, because it'll still pull on the back of the neck when you yank them around. Back. So they make cat harnesses where they have the leash attached to the middle of the cat's back. And it turns out if you have a cat that does that tonic immobility response, you understand the nature of your cat, can they just attach the leash in a different spot? It's not hard. It's not hard at all. How do you know if the cat has this learning history? In that particular case, it's instincts for the cat. How do you know the cat has the instinct? So if I gave you this test again, would you do better on it the second time? How do I know you're learning? Change in behavior. The answer to that question all the time is, how do I know you're learning? And the answer is change in behavior. One of the tricks that I've been trying to learn, I really haven't been trying very hard, but they're called slack tricks. So when the string is slack, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. I'm still working on it. I haven't figured it out exactly yet. But there's stuff that these guys do. What I've seen them do with the yo-yo, they're called slack tricks. So they whip the string around and catch it on the yo-yo and do some crazy stuff with it. I haven't exactly figured out how to do it yet, but how do you know I can do it if I can? This is the only one I can do. How do you know I can do it? I just did it. Okay, and so by doing a particular trick, if you can do it 5 times in a row successfully, that means that you can actually do the trick. Because everybody can get lucky once. But in order to successfully say you can do a trick, is you have to be able to do it at least 5 times in a row. It's like, anybody used to play the kendama thing? But that was really fun. My son, I like those a lot. I'm really sad that those disappeared from middle school. They're going to come back in the elementary school, and then my son will make a fortune selling his stupid kendamas. It'll be great. Hopefully they'll come back. But the idea is, whenever you test something and you measure behavior, then you retest it and measure behavior. If there's a change in behavior, you can say, you learned. You can say that you learned. So will some of these questions show up on the next exam? So I'm going to scroll back up here and write a word up here. I can say it in my head, I just can't say it out loud. Operationalization. Operationalization is the act of measuring behavior. That's what operationalization means, to measure behavior. We'll explain that in a little bit detail here in a few minutes. This is the hardest part in psychology. This is the hardest thing that we do all semester. How do you measure behavior? Humans don't live in a behavioral world. Our behaviors are not very good. Who's better at surviving, a mountain lion or a human? Mountain lion, why? They're better than us. They're faster, they're stronger, they can go longer without eating or drinking, they jump higher, everything. However, why are they going extinct? We're smarter. We live in a world of concepts. We understand, big cat, don't run away. Does the cat understand that the cat knows what we know? No, but we understand what the cat knows and what the cat's thinking. In Mission Trails, we actually saw a mountain lion. It was one of the coolest things so far on my list of things that I've done. We're on one of the Christmas break, we were mountain biking up there, and we stopped, and it was right before the elections, and sure enough, there was a big shape moving up one of the canyons. And we stopped, and we usually see coyotes and deer out there all the time. My buddy Jim goes, not coyote. Because how do coyotes move? Ding, 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 ding. They bounce along like little dogs, because they're little dogs. Okay, but this thing was going like a snake up the side, and then it would stop. And then you see 2 little shiny lights as it looked back at us, and then kept going up the mountain again. And then we saw it when it came out into the clearing, a big, long tail. Nothing else out there has a big, long tail. We're like, woohoo, mountain lion. What color are they? You'd think that they're lion colored, like tan. No, they're like a dark gray. Oh, big kitty. Anyway, it was very exciting. So, sorry, I got distracted by my mountain lions there. Okay. So, but the fact that we can understand how a mountain lion is going to behave, are we likely to get eaten? No. Does a rabbit understand how a mountain lion behaves? No. Some rabbits, however, when you scare them, what do? Oh, they're great. Some of them will, some sit still, some run, some zigzag. It turns out they randomly do stuff. So if a bird swoops down and you stop, you get eaten. A mountain lion comes by and the rabbit stops, the mountain lion kind of loses interest in it. Anybody ever see a cat play with a mouse? When do they pounce on it? Come on, you must have seen this. You live out here. They wait for it to move. And they go, rah! Sometimes they'll get bored and throw the poor thing in the air and fling it around and then let it hit the ground or bring it inside, still alive, to play with in front of you. Love that. I've never heard my mom scream more than anything when the cat brought a rat into the house. Like, look what I found, clunk. Because the rat knows if I fight the cat, what happens? It bites my head off. So the rat learns to. Cat brings it in the house, goes, pat. Rat goes, thanks, it's warm in here. Ah! If a rat were in this classroom right now, where would it be? Probably behind the screen somewhere. It's the only place where it can hide. So if I looked around in here, could I find rat droppings behind the screen? Probably. Okay, and the reason is because nature be commanded must be obeyed. Most animals live in this behavioral sphere. Most animals live in this operationalization sphere. They have a learning history, and that's all they have. Humans live in a cognitive sphere. Humans have not changed. We have the same damn thumbs that we had back when people built the pyramids. We have not changed as a species since the pyramids. However, what has changed? Our brain hasn't changed. It's not our knowledge has changed. The cognitive sphere has changed. How we understand the world has changed. Do you think back in early BC days, in early civilizations, like in Baghdad, where civilization pretty much started for humans, do you think the struggles that they had in Baghdad back then are the same struggles they have now? Read the Old Testament. People argue all the time. The same struggles that humans have now in our country are the same struggles that they had forever. The difference is that we understand them differently. It's the same thing that's happened over generations. The same thing that's happening in our country right now, it's the same thing that happened in the 1920s. It's no different. Humans are the same species. What's different is the fact that we have these things. We understand more now. We're smarter now than we have ever been throughout history. It doesn't seem like it sometimes, but we are. Okay. So, this is where we get into what's the difference between knowing versus understanding. What's the difference between knowing versus understanding? Not sure what just happened there, but it did. What's the difference between knowing and understanding? Go ahead. This is the hard part, because in order for you to answer this question, you have to understand what the question is. So if I say the answer is A, is that knowing or understanding? Knowing. If I ask you what part of the brain is involved with memory, we didn't talk about that yet. We'll talk about that when we talk about memory. It's called the hippocampus. So if I say, what part of your brain is where you hear? Anybody remember? In the temporal lobe, it's called the auditory cortex. The part of the brain where you feel disgust. When you step in dog poo, aw. Your nose goes, ew. Okay, when you step in dog poo, the part of your brain is called the insula. It makes you not want to finish your sandwich. Squish. I don't feel like finishing my sandwich right now. Okay? And so that's knowing the answer is the insula. That's the word. That's the vocabulary word. That's one level of repeating or changing behavior. But the other way is understanding. If you understand how the insula works, you can describe other things that it does. If you understand how it works. My son is learning about cars. He really likes cars. And what he's doing is he's playing with his little Forza racing game, which is pretty cool. He's adjusting suspension. He's adjusting horsepower in his engine. He's got a little driving wheel. And the little driving wheel gives feedback to what it feels like when he drives. So like he can camber the wheels really out. Like you see the lowered Lexuses with the wheels all completely ganked out. And it's great. But he goes, well, why do they do that? I go, well, camber your wheels and drive the car. See what it does. And he goes, well, it just spins around. Huh. Very good for drifting. Because you can spin around really well. Okay, then he goes, well, that's stupid. I goes, well, yeah, but if you like drifting, it's fun. So he starts understanding. So as he's looking at these cars that people are driving around in our neighborhood, he starts to understand why they're having those cars, as opposed to just knowing that, oh, the wheels are cambered. Knowledge, knowing. But understanding is something where you apply it. Humans live in the understanding world, not just the knowing world. That's why I ask hard questions, to help you understand the material. Everybody can just memorize a test. It doesn't take much effort to memorize something. But to understand it is really complicated. It's very hard. So, can I play with any kind of yo-yo? Yeah. Why? Is it because I know how to play with every kind of yo-yo? Or do I understand how yo-yos work? I understand how yo-yos work. By understanding how, it's a really good skill, by the way, in life, but by understanding how something works, I can then apply my learning to new situations. Once you start getting better at college gets easier. The content gets harder. The knowledge gets harder. But college itself gets easier. Because what do you learn? We can just use English as a second language. If you're speaking English as a second language, the first part of the year, what? It's hard. Very hard. But the more you practice, what happens? You understand more. You learn faster the more you understand. Which is crazy because when we're talking about learning, we're trying to teach you to understand. Why do you have to have knowledge first? Let me do that. This is what we just did this in my stats course yesterday. We're going to talk a lot about this idea of what a concept is. In statistics, we use concepts as mathematical formulas. In this particular class, we use a concept as an idea. the reason why we want to talk about this now is that this next section of the class is full of a series of concepts, ideas. Is a concept in understanding or in knowing? It's an understanding. Concepts are in the understanding. We'll explain how all this works next class on Tuesday. But concepts are ideas. Humans do not live in a behavioral world. We live in a conceptual world. So as we go on the semester, we're going to talk about things like racism and sexism, because those are concepts that we apply to people. And if you're acting racist, or you're acting sexist, or you're acting xenophobic, or afraid of other cultures, those are concepts, those are ideas. Those ideas spread to other people. Do they affect behavior? Yes. Okay? The folks out there are almost done. Okay. So, should you look at the book and look at what chapters are we covering? Yes. Why would you want to go look at chapters 9 and 10? That's what we're going to be talking about next class. Chapters 9 and 10. Great job. I forgot. The last one should be, question number 60 should be A. Okay. Do you have your ID? Okay, you guys can run away. The rest of you. Yeah.